Le capitaine secret des grandes expéditions, après avoir prêté sa plume au grand baron de la presse, il œuvre à ébaucher des intrigues pour les plus grandes cités de notre globe. J'appelle Philippe Hertzberg.
Ahoy, ahoy! Ahoy, ahoy! Bonjour, bonjour! Hello! So the pirate ship was rocking so much that I actually spilled a bit of coffee on my white pants. So much for wearing a white pants today. Good morning, pirates. My name is Philippe Hertzberg, and I'm going to talk to you about the secret of science behind storytelling. And before I do that, I'm just going to start with a story. After I tell you a story, I'm then going to dive into the science, actually the neuroscience, and I'm going to share three secrets that I have learned. And together, we are going to go deeper and deeper and deeper inside the brain. Now rest assured, this will not hurt you. First with the story. This is January 1905. This is a winter day. This little boy is born in a town in Normandy. His parents are very wealthy. He's the son of 5. It's a beautiful house. He lives in this villa overlooking the sea. There's a beautiful garden, and this little boy loves to go into this garden every single day. He's surrounded by these colorful flowers, all these scents, right? Daisies, lilies, lavender. Sometimes this little boy would love to pick up a rose and bring that rose and look at that rose. Look at the texture. Feel the texture. Smell the aroma of the rose. Now, a few years later, his parents decide to move to Paris. His father, who was a businessman, says, "You, my son, will be a diplomat. You're gonna study political science." So he enrolls him to Sciences Politiques, Sciences Po. But the boy has a calling, this little boy, a calling for the world of arts. And he does not finish Sciences Po. He does not get his diploma, and instead he tells his father, "I want to open up an art gallery. Will you help me, Dad?" The dad actually helps him. He loves his boy, and he helps him open up this art gallery. And this young man, he's a young man then, has his art gallery, and he meets Dali, he meets Picasso, and that experience nourishes his skills and his talents for the world of arts. That's really what his calling. Unfortunately, the Great Depression comes. His father can no longer subsidize his art gallery, so he has to close it. But while he has his art gallery, this young man is drawing sketches of dresses, of hats. He's publishing his sketches in magazines and newspapers. He's also selling them to fashion houses. He's hired by 2 amazing fashion houses, and comes 1946. He's 41 years old. This is after World War II. He has a meeting of his life. A businessman, the most wealthiest businessman in fashion, nicknamed the King of Cotton, meets this man and says, "I have a proposal. I want you to relaunch with me a brand, a fashion brand. And we're going to do it together." Now, what I did not mention to you about this man, this young man, is that he's very superstitious. And for important decisions in his life, he would always consult with an astrologer. So he goes to meet his astrologer, and he says, "The King of Cotton wants me to be the new director of this fashion brand. What do you think? What do you see?" the astrologer looks at the planets, the constellations, and says, this is the opportunity of your life. This is your destiny. You have to accept this offer to relaunch this brand. Now this man is thinking about this for a few days, and finally he goes to see the King of Cotton. And he tells him, I'm okay, I agree, I'm going to launch this brand, but we're not going to relaunch an existing brand. We're going to launch my brand. That's my condition. I want that new brand to have my own name. I want to have my name on it. And the other condition is that I want the headquarters of this new fashion brand to be on Avenue Montaigne. The King of Cotton looks at him straight in the eyes and says, you know, I see your determination, I see your confidence. I have trust in you. We're going to launch this brand, and I agree to your conditions. A few days later, the man is walking on Avenue Montaigne. It's a rainy evening, and as he walks, there's this glow on the floor. He looks at it, and he picks up this piece of metal. He brings it closer to him, and that piece of metal is a star. And this man, being so superstitious, looks at the universe, looks at the cosmos, and says, this is another sign. This is where I want to open up the headquarters of my fashion brand at number 30, Avenue Montaigne. Now this man, you might have guessed by now who this man is. It's Christian Dior. And for the next 10 years, this man built an empire. His first collection was 1947. He died in 1957. So in only 10 years, he built the empire we know, the Dior empire, worldwide. And that star, you actually see it on many creations of Dior. This is a bag, you see that little star, it's like a lucky charm. Many creations have that. And the reason why I'm sharing with you this story is that in my activity, what I do, I share this story when I bring visitors into the Galerie Dior. I don't know if you've been to the Galerie Dior. It is experiences, experiential retail. Now, how I came to be interested in the science behind storytelling. Well, I launched my agency in 2018. I bring visitors to museums, monuments, galleries. And like you, I'm interested in storytelling, in experiences. And a few months ago, I read this book by Jay Golden. And in the book, I found many aha moments. And I found some really interesting insights into the science, the neuroscience behind storytelling. And it's a privilege and a pleasure to share 3 of them with you today. I'm a thirsty pirate. Neural coupling. Neural coupling is what happens between the teller and the listener. One-on-one, but one to many. A teller, like me, listeners like you. And if we were to put our brains in a scanner right now, what we would see is that the parts of our brains that are being activated while we're having this storytelling moment together are exactly the same. The brain is activated with the listener and the teller in exactly the same areas. And the neural coupling is this tension that you're keeping from the beginning of your story to the end of the story, from the beginning of the experience to the end of the experience. When I told you about Christian Dior, if I was telling you, going into too many details, the first names of his siblings, or if I was maybe too vague, if I just skipped on the first part, just saying, oh, he was born in this garden, I'd probably lose you. You'd probably maybe go elsewhere in your shopping list or what you're doing next weekend. So the neural coupling is so important to understand as sort of a neuroscience element of storytelling. It's that connection. If you lose it, you decouple. It's gone. And we've experienced this, right? You're speaking. This could also be true for a one-on-one conversation with a friend or with family. The second insight I want to share with you has to do with the framework of a story. We all know about the framework of, Star Wars. George Lucas was inspired by this book in 1949, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, Joseph Campbell. Pixar Studios, they have this framework which they call the story spine. And in that framework, actually, Jay Golden, in his book, he calls it the journey curve. There are very specific moments, and when you understand the framework of a story, you're now going to understand, I'm going to share with you, what happens, I told you we're going to go deeper, when the brain produces hormones, and what kinds of hormones we are producing, or the brain is producing. The first one is The first one is a hormone that we're very familiar with. It's the dopamine. Right at the beginning of the story of Christian Dior, I was setting the scene. And your brain is sort of telling you, and you are telling yourselves, what? Suspense. I'm curious, what's going to happen in this story? Right? And dopamine is being produced there. And this is a pleasure hormone that we're all very familiar with. Then came the moment in the story I told you where the king of cotton makes that offer, right? And we don't know if the man, Christian Dior, is going to accept. So there's a bit of cortisol there. This is a hormone of fear, anxiety, stress. So you're wondering, what's going to happen? Is Christian Dior going to accept? Is the man going to accept or not? What is the astrologer going to say? And then finally, the third hormone, it's the, as we call it here, the payoff, the healing. He accepts the offer. And then he goes on to create this empire. Oxytocin is also a very famous hormone of pleasure. And I actually added a double whammy hormone, with oxytocin, where I didn't tell you that it was Christian Dior. You discovered it. So for some of you, it was again, oh wow, it is Christian Dior. And that was again another shot of oxytocin. Are you ready for the third insight? Yeah? Am I doing okay with the neural coupling? Are we all neural coupled together? The third insight. The third insight is, I told you we're going deeper and deeper. Third insight is a structure. It's an almond-shaped structure that we all have, the amygdala. And the amygdala is very important. It's regulating the production of hormones. And it's all about emotions. So it's regulating all the hormones that are connected with emotions, whether it's fear, whether it's stress, but also all the other hormones of pleasure, of reward. The amygdala is doing that job for us. And it's telling the glands to produce more or less of these hormones. The other the hippocampus, more of a sausage-shaped. And what the hippocampus does is it forms memories and it consolidates memories. So it will turn short-term memory into long-term memory storage. And together, once you understand the role of these two structures, they're in the same part of the brain, they collaborate to create emotional memories. And they're so important in understanding how storytelling works, because if you're creating emotions, you're creating memories, those two are intertwined. So we looked at the neural coupling when you tell a story or you're living an experience and you're hearing a story. We looked at the different hormones, dopamine, cortisol, oxytocin, and then these two really important structures that regulate emotions, consolidate memories. So those were the three insights I wanted to share with you. How does it relate to what I do? Until a few months, and I started my company in 2018, when someone came to me and said, "What do you do, Philippe?" I would say, well, I create emotions, and now with this finding, I say I create emotions, and I also create memories. So thank you. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, over lunch or by email or by phone. À bientôt.